Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics pre-lockout chat ahead of round 21. I'm your host, Bales. You can find me at BalesDT on Twitter and trulybailshd on YouTube, where we're live as well tonight. And joining me, I was waiting here, and he's come and decided to join us. Tim, mate, how are you going? How's the week been so far?
Oh, yeah, not too bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. What are you up to? Much over the last few days?
Oh, you don't really want to ask me, mate. I was in family court today, and family court is fucking shit.
Yeah.
It's the most unfair, fucking unreasonable, fucking ridiculous fucking system I've ever fucking seen. I've been in court for 10 fucking months, and they still won't deal with the parenting. I'm still being restricted from seeing my kids for no reason whatsoever, but that's just the system, apparently. So, yeah. I want to talk fantasy. I don't want to focus on that shit.
Yep, no worries. Well, let's go on to fantasy, mate. What are your early thoughts? Obviously, looks like there's not too many bullets. So you sort of dodged one getting rid of Took last week, and he's obviously been suspended. Yeah. If anyone didn't see that yesterday, suspended for the bit of the ball grab that he did on Zorko. So he's out this week, which is also good for me as I'm a Crows fan. It should, might be a good step in the direction of maybe Crows winning. But what are your early thoughts for your trades, mate?
My trades are going to be pretty simple this week. I've played around with a few different things, but no, I'm pretty settled. It'll be a Marcus Windhager down to Dante Vicente. Obviously, he's got that role. I need a bit of security there in the ruck line as well, just in case a Marshall does, have a laid out or something like that. And then trading Lockie Neal out. And bringing in Darcy Parish.
Yeah, love it, mate. Yeah, mine are pretty similar. I'm going a Windhager down to. I was looking at Nankervis and I was thinking, could I just get him because I don't have too much cover. I think the only players on my bench currently that are green dots is a Campbell Chesser and Vicentini. They're the only two. So. I was thinking about Nankervis, but I think I've decided I'll just go down to basement, and I'm going to be grabbing probably Borlace from the Crows, new rookie that's coming in. Yeah. It looks like I think he'll probably be in the team for the rest of the year. Either him or I might go Bauer instead, but at least if I get Borlace, I'll have cover in defence mid, and then as long as Lohman is a sub, I'll have some sort of cover in the forward line.
Do you have Elijah Hewitt?
No, I did see your tweet before that, though. If anyone missed that, he went off. Was it knee injury? Is that what they're saying, potentially?
It looked like he went off with a knee complaint or something like that. Didn't sign autographs. I'm not sure what it means, but it didn't necessarily look that great. Let me just have a look. West Coast gun young Elijah Hewitt just spent time with staff concerned about his left knee. He's gone straight into the rooms and is not signing autographs to the rest of his teammates. Yep. And that's reported by Mitch Woodcock. Who the hell is Mitch Woodcock? But there is video. So sports reporter at West Australian. So yeah, that's a reliable source, and there's video. So not that that's a big deal.
Could be some bench cover.
Probably some coach bit of cover, bit of cover there. I mean, the other thing I got to worry about this week is, I am a little bit worried about Jack Zeeble coming into the side with teams and its impact on Harry Sheasel. I am holding a Darcy Cameron, but only because Mason Cox is out.
Yeah, I'd be doing the same as well.
Yeah, but then I've got $400,000 in the bank for next week.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say about the other side of going down to a Borlace is I'm going a Mills up to a Parish. And I've got 271K in the bank for next week, and that'll allow me to go both Will Day and Darcy Cameron up, which they're my two worst players. And then other than that, unless I get any forced trades, it will be pretty much just real luxury trades, which is good. That probably holds me in good stead to hopefully push for that top 1K finish. But the question I sort of had to you, and I'd be interested to get your take, and I obviously got the Ball Boys' take before, is for those coaches that maybe have got a few of these red dots that have built up a little bit like myself, are you just at this point going basement, rolling lockout is fine. If you get it out, you can just pivot, or are you getting maybe maybe even Nanko is probably a good example because he's 270, but it could even be someone in the 250, 230 range where would you pay that extra little bit of cash to get that cover, or what are your thoughts?
No, look, I think at this stage of the game, it's, balls and all, right? It's all in. You know,
Chips
it's
are in.
we don't hold back. We're not. Yeah, exactly. Like we're 4 weeks to go. You know, I don't see anywhere near enough benefit of putting someone on the bench. Like you're not. I mean, you know, we're all cashed up, right? So we're not looking for cash. The only thing you're possibly looking for is cover if one of your players goes down. But you wouldn't want to sacrifice who's on field just to provide cover in case someone is a donut or a red dot or something along those lines, right? So there's just not a good enough reason for it. So no, to give you an idea, Dante at 205, I was even 50-50 about it, right? But he's the number one ruck, right? So
and was it
it's hard
something
to
that
go.
Lysette might be getting some surgery or something? Is that?
Yeah, Lysette's gone in for surgery. I think he's done now for the end of the year. To the end of the year, right? So, and 205, right? 5K is not much to worry about. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be spending up any more than $205,000 this week. Especially we've got a couple of basement green dots, and we've got Dante.
Yeah, exactly right. Obviously a bit annoying that Elijah Sarda's got named for the Bombers. Would have been good to have got him next year at basement, but now his price will be ruined unless he's the sub or something like that. But yeah, we'll have to see. But the big talking point, I think, this week, again, and like most weeks at this time of the year, because I think trades are pretty much straightforward for a lot of coaches, unless you've maybe got a few issues that you're still maybe dealing with from carnage or whatever, but it's your captains and vice captains. So for all this week, I'd been Bont into Merritt. That's what I've been sold on. They had the two best matchups, but one thing that Selby said, and I know Mitch also touched on it during the Ball Boys podcast before, is that go the best option as your VC, and then if they play early in the round, and then go a backup option later in the round. So I want to get your thoughts on the VC options tonight with English and Bont and Taranto to an extent, but not as much because people are sort of not happy with the way he's been going. Are you VCing one of them into a Merritt or even a Parish if you want to go a little bit different? Or are you VCing a Merritt or a Parish into someone like a Dunkley, a Doherty, you're not going to go.
Yeah, sure. Let me walk you through it, right? So I think the first thing you've got to do, right, look, rather than naming players, and we can use some of these examples, right? Like you said, you got to figure out who your number one captain target is, right? And then the name of the game is really putting the VC on them, because you want to back up to the top score. You would hate to go the other way, right? Put who you think is your second highest scoring player and have them get a 120, and then take that, and then your highest scoring player gets a 130.
Yeah, and
right?
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, 10 points. So, and that's what you got to watch, I think, with like a Bont or in English tonight. And look, I do think they are good options for VCs regardless. But can you imagine what happens if, they get a 118 or something along those lines?
Yeah.
And just like, do I take it? Do I not take it? What do I, and you're almost screwed either way, right? Because either your captain scores more and you're like, fucking shit, I shouldn't take it. Or you take it and this, or you don't take it and this captain scores less, and then you're screwed anyway, right? So, I do think that the number one options for this week are probably someone like a Zach Merritt or a Darcy Parish. I know Mitch suggested Gawn as well, which, that kind of plays into people's hands if you are, agreeing. Obviously, Mitch's credentials are under question at the moment after a bit of an average week last week, right? If you ask Luke, but look, if you do have a Gorney, I think that's I've got a Petrarca, right? So I'm looking at rolling like a Zach Merritt into a Christian Petrarca. Great matchups. And look, you could get those big ceiling scores, Gorney, man, he could, I'm not sure what he's going to do, right? But he could go big.
He's actually got you've
even got a Marshall.
He's got a pretty good record, Gorney, down at Blundstone. I've noticed a fair few times he's gone down there and put up some pretty big scores, and I think against North Melbourne, actually. So, yeah, he averages 113.8 in his 4 games at Blundstone Arena for anyone that wanted to know venue, because I remember he did get that huge score where him and Goldie were both went over 120. I can't remember exactly what the score was, but you're still talking about
average score of 114 at Blundstone, played 4 games. Yeah, so that is by far, he's the Manica and the SCG are the only ovals he averages higher.
And you were talking about Marshall as well?
Well, look, but while we before we pivot off Gorn, like, I mean, that was something I definitely looked at doing this week as well, because, I mean, I still had a few concerns about Gorn last week, and it was just too much for me to jump onto him, sorry. But once again, I mean, I think, with Harrison Petty playing so well and Jacob Van Rooyen kicking, 4 goals in the forward line there last week as well. Like, I think that kind of, I mean, I was worried about Grundy coming back in this week. He hasn't come back in this week. I think there's a chance now. I think it's more of a safer play than it was last week. And, depending on how your team looks, you could potentially still get down from a Marshall to a Gorn and still get up on the other side, maybe still get a Neil to someone, or I don't know, whoever else you've got, right? So that's also a play. I mean, I was really, really thinking about it, but for me, I just think the smarter play is having that 400k in the bank for next week. I mean, I definitely will be upgrading, I think, a Darcy Cameron, and then I guess I'll just kind of looking around at my team and at who, we'll see how the Sheasel role plays out with Zeeble back in. Still got Gavin there, who, he might go, before the end of the year, maybe even a Zach Butters. So it just gives me options for next week with a couple of weeks to go.
That's the other question that I had for you before because we got a guest on. Obviously, we'll talk to our guests shortly. But just one question before we do that. So a few people got like a Windhager on the bench. So is it better if you can get the same upgrade going Marshall to Gorn and then going, say you could go someone to the person you want to bring in? Would you be happy to do that? Would you still rather get the cash from Windhager, go down, get those points on field?
So this is essentially a decision I've had to make today. Like, do I do a Gorn down and a Lockie Neal up, because I could easily do that to a Parish, or do I do a Windhager down, Neal to Parish, and then, have all that fucking cash in the bank? And like I said, I think it's a 50-50 call. I think you could actually play it either way. Like Gorney might go massive this week and, really pay off. But for me, I think it's more about I want to be able to do the double move next week. I mean, who knows? Darcy Cameron as the single ruck. I mean, I went back to do some research on how he goes as the single ruck, and he kind of only had 2 games as the single ruck, and that was remember when Grundy went out and he kind of switched into the ruck role last year? And the first game was only a 50 because I think there was still a split or something like that going on. But the next game was like a 127 or something along those lines. So, so I might, if he stays the sole ruck, I mean, I'm not even sure. Actually, haven't even looked at who they've got the following week. Hawks and then Geelong. Well, easy ruck matchup, right? So,
and it's on a Friday night. You could, and then he plays Friday night around 23. So you could probably even, if you were going to play that game, you could even loop him on a Friday night for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd want to go up against Oscar Mack though. But I'd probably have to have a look at his matchup. But look, I mean, Geelong is still a pretty decent ruck matchup for him next week. So look, for me, it's more about getting in Parish this week, get off Neil with the tag, and then I've got cash to move next week. And I've also got the week off with the Content Creators Cup, so I'm
preparing for that week.
Probably.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, we'll get to our guest has jumped on. Good mate of ours from WA, Fry, mate. Fry, how you going?
I'm well, lads. Afternoon.
Thanks. It's all good, mate. Thanks for jumping on with us for a bit of a chat. So, firstly, I'd like to get your thoughts on sort of what we just talked about then about a lot of coaches maybe got Windhager. Do you go him down, get the cash and upgrade on the field? And then sort of the other question would be, how's your fantasy week going and what are your plans? So actually, we'll start with your plans for your trades and what you're looking at doing.
Yeah, I've kind of benefited from having such a crap team this year. I've still been able to have Darcy Wilmot plugging away at D7. I've been trying to trade him for about a month, but
been a fucking jet though, hasn't he?
He has been elite. So he finally goes this week for me, and I think I go down to Vicentini, who will be a very popular basement price player to trade in. Obviously, Scott Lysett's now out for the rest of the year, so he should get a run. I think Finn Layson or Charlie Dixon, I read earlier, is out this week as well. So hopefully he gets the lion's share of the ruck work, and I think he'll score really well. So pocket a bit of cash from that, and then just trying to toss up whether I really am trading Lockie Neal like the majority of the competition. Have you guys got him?
Tim does. I don't have him. Tim's looking at moving off.
Yeah. So just looking at, I mean, there's been a bit of talk about, I mean, could be a trade, obviously a tag target this week, but then also there's been some talk about, maybe they won't really tag him that hard. But then also Adelaide next week. I mean, you're probably the one to ask, Bales. Do you think Adelaide will tag him?
Yeah, I think Keys will go to him. I think that's happened the last couple of times, so I could see that definitely happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's like, if I can get off now, then why not? Like, I mean, that's the other thing I'm thinking about this week.
He's not going to
We don't really have any bullets. We've got chances to move, whereas who knows? We could have a dangerous tackle, a suspension, an injury, and then have players that we're stuck with that we didn't really want to be. So for me, it's like, I'm just like, look, maybe he gets it this week, maybe he doesn't, but fuck, he's going to get it next week, so I might as well get off.
And I don't think he's going to burn coaches that do trade him. He doesn't have that same ceiling this year as he did last year of those 140 scores. He hasn't gone over 130 all year. So I think even if you got rid of him, the worst case is he goes a 120, and that not really going to kill you unless the guy you're getting gets a 60. But more likely than not, he's going to get a low 100. If not, if he does get tagged, he's going to go sub 100.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, Bales. I was literally going to say that. He hasn't had those big ceiling scores this year. So, and he's actually, I was crunching a couple of numbers earlier. He's got 6 under 80 as well. So he may, shrug the tag if it does go to him, but it may only equate to a 95 or a 105. So I agree. I think if you're missing a top tier midfielder, then potentially making a bench move and then go and lock your Neil up for someone and having, $200,000 to play with next week, I think it's a smart.
Yeah. So who?
Especially a Parish this week, like a lowly owned Parish against, he's got obviously West Coast,
and then North
West Coast, and then North Melbourne. I mean, I'm not a big Parish fan, but right now I'd much prefer to be on Parish than I would Neil.
I've been in the same boat. I haven't really loved Parish the last couple of years, but I brought him in about a month ago. So, I'm definitely in the fan club for sure.
So who are you bringing in for Neil?
Well, that's the tricky one. I can go all the way up to Bont. I haven't had him all year, or I can try and save a couple of extra dollars. And there's Rory Laird's jumping out to me. I started the year with him. I kind of feel obliged to bring him back in after giving him the flick. He's been my boy for most of the year. So, yeah, he's someone I think, no Took as well. I feel like he and Dawson should score really well this week. And their fixture moving forward is pretty light as well.
So, Bales, once again, the Crows, man, how, obviously with the news Took going out, how do you think now the Crows play this tag?
So, Took being out, I think, is good, very, very good for Dawson. I don't think Dawson will cop much attention at all. I think he'll go about his business. And it's so hard to tag a guy like Dawson because he can just go back in defence. He can go up forward. He can pretty much go wherever. So, he's very hard to tag. I'm still concerned about Rory Laird this week because the last couple of times, because people sort of have said, Swallow hasn't started on him. But the last couple of times Laird against Gold Coast has gone bang in the first quarter. I remember last year at Metricon, he was on about 50 at quarter time. He was running right. And then this year he's on about 30, but he had about 14 touches. And then Swallow moved to him after quarter time. And I could see something like that happening again where Laird gets off the chain early, gets about 10, 12 touches in the first quarter and is on about 40 odd. And then Swallow moves to him. Or they could even start on him because it worked last time. Like the Gold Coast beat the Crows up in Darwin and they tagged Laird and he had no influence after quarter time at all. Does Stephen King look at that and go, well, that worked last time. Why not? Let's just do it again because Laird's sort of the guy that's in and under there. So I'm still a bit nervous about Lairdy this week. And obviously everyone knows I'm the Laird man. I think next week and then on, he's good to go. Like go nuts, bring him in because I'll be bringing him in at this stage next week, barring any carnage. But I'm still just a little bit nervous this week. It could just be me saying that, and then he just goes big and good for the people that jumped on. But yeah, that's just my sort of early thoughts on it. I'd probably pay up for Bont Fry out of those two, which again, me saying getting someone over Laird is not sitting right in my stomach, me saying that. But yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right, mate.
I do think it is Bont. I could still see Bont going pretty well tonight. I expect a response after sort of subpar effort after quarter time last week after getting the tag.
Yeah, I agree. He and Tim English are the two arguably best players in the game at the moment, fantasy that is. So, yeah, I think it's going to be hard to pass up Bont. There's not.
What about Merritt or Dunks? You got Merritt and Dunks?
I got Merritt, don't have Dunkley. So he's another one that I'm very tempted to get in, but I do have Windhager stuck in my forward line. So I'm hoping if I can save a little bit of cash for next week, then I could make another bench downgrade and turn Windy into Dunkley.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, see, in that case, maybe it is the play to get Laird. I know that Laird, because knowing my luck, he won't get tagged and he'll go all right. And maybe they do just go to Dawson because of how dominant he's been. So maybe you do get Laird save the whatever the difference is. What even is it? So Bont is 1.03. So it's about 70 odd K or something like that. So
yeah, it's a fair chunk of change.
Yeah, so,
I think as well, like you said, Bales, he's got Gold Coast this week. Brisbane could be
they
a
give
bit
up
of a challenge
some
next week.
points.
But then,
I think Brisbane of late.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's got Sydney and West Coast to close the year. Sydney
We're gonna
at
want
home
him.
and then West Coast over here. So, yeah, I feel like he's going to score some points down the back end or the last month of the year.
And-
So I feel like I owe him after riding him for...
And worst case, because I'm obviously, it's because at this point we're just sort of splitting hairs. That's what I'm sort of been saying about I would get like Parrish and a few guys over Laird, but by no means am I saying Laird's a terrible option, because if you remove that round one, which I do, he's only had 4 games sub 100. They've all been 80s and they've all been mostly have been tagged. So like Port Adelaide round 3 got an 83, got Willem Drew tag there. Freo 84 in round 4 got the Ace tag. He got an 81 against Gold Coast in Darwin with the Swallow tag after quarter time. Then he got an 85 against North Melbourne. I think that game was just sort of a little bit weird for scoring, but every other game's gone over 100. So I think worst case, you're going to get an 80. That's absolute worst case, but best case, he's going to give you a 120 because Gold Coast is a pretty nice matchup if he doesn't cop attention. So maybe it is worth getting a Rory Laird and saving that cash to get Windy up next week.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, but still not fully set in on it. I think I'll have to just kind of have a bit of a think, see, because paying up for Bont for tonight's matchup and then his run home is going to be hard to pass up. And if I don't get him now, then I probably won't get him for the whole year. So, yeah, I might just flip a coin once I finish recording with you, mates.
Yeah. But also the other sort of debate has been the captains this week. So just want to get your thoughts on the putting the VC on like a Bont tonight, then going to Merritt, or like I know as I said, Selby said it, and a few other people have said it. Going the best option is your VC being a Merritt because he plays so early in the round. Then going into I'm personally looking at a Doherty against St Kilda this week. A few people have looked at Petrarca or Gorn, and then also Dunkley's another option that a few coaches have been looking at. So what are your thoughts around that whole sort of VC and captain talk?
I think with a lot of characters playing, the popular VC options tonight and then the first game tomorrow, there's a lot of nervous coaches because if, say, you go Tim English tonight and he doesn't fire, you're like, oh, crap, I can't have to use my captain's badge on Merritt the second game of the round. So it feels a bit abnormal for some. But I think the wise play is to either go Bont tonight or Merritt in one of those early games. And then I've been chasing a couple of like pod captains as well when my VC's failed. I had Doherty for his 130. I forget, but I nailed another one a couple of weeks prior. So there's plenty of matchups out there that suit some of the guns of the competition. But I definitely think the wise move is to use the VC on one of the two in Merritt or Bond.
Yeah, and I think a lot of coaches will probably go that way. I think it will be one of those guys. So as Tim said, I'm looking at. I was VC Bont into Merritt all for most of the week, but then sort of Selby said it, and as Tim said, you don't want to VC a Bont. He gets a 115 tonight, which he's got a lot of those 110 to 120 scores, and then you miss out on a Merritt captain who goes a 150 tomorrow against the Eagles, and you're sort of thinking, well, I could have gained points. And I have said I don't like VCing, and I know Tim's also said this. Well, we don't like VCing as much on the Thursday, Friday nights because A, that's where the crowd goes, and B, unless there's like an absolute like juicy matchup, there's not too many. Too many absolute monster scores on Friday night. So yeah, it's an interesting sort of topic.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I was definitely sit in the same camp of not using your VC early if you can, but sometimes there's obviously the matchup that suits. Yeah, I think probably going Merritt just with the West Coast matchup. He's coming in off ripper form as well. He's had, I think it was against the Dogs and then someone else prior. He had a couple of low games by his standards, but he's still one of the best accumulators in the game. So I don't think we overthink it. And if you have to pick one, I reckon Merritt's the one for the VC.
Just a couple of notes here as well. Apparently, also John has tagged us in a couple of things. So John tagged us in, apparently West Coast have tweeted, said, contrary to reports, Elijah Hewitt trained fully and did not injure his knee at captain's run this afternoon. The club wishes to thank Port Melbourne Football Club hosting us and sends a massive thank you to our supporters for coming down. So that's the one on Hewitt. And then the other one was Richmond assistant Xavier Clark was asked about tagging Bont tonight, and they said we don't plan to. No, so that's obviously a good sign that looks like they're not going to send the attention to Bont.
Brave move.
Yeah, I know exactly right. I don't think you can just let Bont sort of run around free, but there you go. So, but yeah, we'll get into.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, sorry,
right,
just to touch on those things. I did actually have a bit of a look at that footage of Hewitt just before I jumped on. Did look like he did something, hurt his knee somehow. So I guess it's one to watch and monitor. Surely he's not on the field for a lot of coaches. He may be obviously your only emergency option, but he plays pretty early in the round. I don't think it should send too many ripple effects through the fantasy community if he does miss.
Yeah, exactly right. Beautiful. All right, we'll get into some of the listener questions that people are listening on Twitter and on YouTube. So if you guys are listening in, then send through your questions and we'll get to those. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you do like and subscribe to the channel. Watch alongs are back this week as well. Looking forward to getting back into those. I think we'll be doing the Sydney game against GWS. So make sure you guys tune into that one on YouTube. First question I'll actually throw to Fry, being the rookie man. So at this stage here, I think, as Tim said before, we're trying to pay down for these rookies and save as much cash as possible. Who are your picks for those 200k rooks that are there? So you got like a Blank that's obviously played a few games but not a huge score. You got Borlase who's coming for the Crows, who I'm bullish on his job security, maybe not his scoring, and then you've got like a Bauer and a few other guys. So what are your thoughts about all those rookies?
I think if you miss Dante Vicentini, the Port ruck forward, then I think he's probably the pick of the bunch. It's only 205k, so he's pretty much bang on basement price. There's a couple of other guys, like you mentioned. Borlase should be able to play the last 4 games of the season, but Key Backman, they don't usually score great. Averaged off the top of the dome about a 62 this season in the sample, which isn't awful. So he might be probably your best downgrade in the back line if you want someone who's playing. But I think the only other one that jumps out to me is the mid-season draftee from Richmond, Matthew Coulthard. He's been, I'm pretty sure, kept his spot in the side for tonight. Wasn't the sub. His break-even's about 30, so if you need someone in the forward line, then he might be another play.
Yeah. So would you go So like I've had this sort of conundrum. I've got personally, and I feel other people might be in this situation, so I'll probably just ask for other people that might be in this as well. But I've got Chesser is at the moment, before trades, my only green dot on my bench. Like I've got like a Loman who is besides Vicentini, obviously, in my ruck, and then Loman who's emergency. But you got like your likes of Harvey, Drury, Mullen, Heath, guys like that. Would you be getting a Borlase to make sure you've got cover in defence mids, and then if Loman plays, you've got him, and you've also got Vicentini you can throw into the forward line? Or would you just get the better one in like a Coulthard or a Bauer, for example? Would you get one of those guys? And if you don't have cover in a line, then you can just adjust so your trades later in the round.
I think it's risky with the cover because we've talked about it a lot, and I feel like it's very rare that it actually really does help us. Maybe once or twice a season. So when you get to the point where you're in your fantasy finals, it's important to have as many green dots as possible. But I think I've got 3 or 4 playing rookies, but I plan on trading them out within the next couple of weeks. So if you've got a lot of red dots, but you're able to get the upgrade that you covet, I think that it's a worthwhile move. If you're going someone like Cooper Harvey to one of the aforementioned players like Coulthard and only nets you like 80 grand and you can't get up to the big dog, then maybe it's worth like investing in a guy who's going to play regularly. But I wouldn't be too concerned about getting a couple of red dots into your team with only a month left.
Yeah. So I might even. I probably won't go one of those rookies tonight, just so I don't get locked in. But yeah, it is one for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think for the way that I think you should approach the rookies this week is if you don't have Vicentini, you can just grab him. He's great R3 cover. Borlase in the back line could play, and if you've got like Campbell Chesser to Borlase, that would make you 180 or grand. So that's very handy cash. But again, you don't have to pull the trigger on that tonight. So I think outside of those two, there's not a lot that I really love. So yeah, trying to like I said, get the points on the field is what matters.
Yeah, good point. Beautiful. All right, we'll go to the first one here, which is from Moonboy. So Tim, I'll go to you for this one. He said, Laird versus Petrarca versus Libba. So out of those three, so you've obviously a Petrarca owner. So what are your thoughts about him and then also the other two?
Yeah, I probably like Laird the best for the rest of the season and his uniqueness. I am a little concerned, obviously, about the tag over this week. Petrarca's probably my second, I would say, but I'm not. Yeah,
Libba, good run.
Oh man, I'm not as confident on Libba, especially when you're comparing it to the other two. Let me have a look.
I was actually looking at potentially grabbing Libba this week instead of Laird to save some cash, but similar
He's been
to you,
going well,
like,
hasn't he?
He's just not like exciting enough. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't feel
just
right.
doesn't.
It feels like a perfect draft play, but in classic, you're like, there's other names I'd rather
Yeah, it just
have.
doesn't have that sort of that ceiling. I'm just having a look at what his highest score for the years, and his highest score.
Richmond, not as easy, but it's got Hawks and the Eagles.
His highest scores are 121. Libba, and he got two 120s, 121, 120. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scores in the sort of the 110s around there, and he's got a few of those sort of low hundreds. He's got a few low ones. So it's probably just that ceiling. For me,
maybe it's Petrarca this week, Laird next week, and then Libba the following week.
Say that, but I'd almost go Treloar personally over Libba.
Nailed it.
But that's just maybe me just wanting a high ceiling. But yeah, I think I'd probably go Petrarca this week. Fry, would you go
just with the matchup?
Yeah, the matchup's hard to pass up. I mean, I've spoken about my thoughts on Laird, and I may pull the trigger on him over a Petrarca or someone else. But yeah, all the stars align for Christian to be better.
We'll go to John. I'll go to Fry for this one because he's got a few names, and I know Tim doesn't like the ones with a lot of names and stuff with the question. But John's got Harvey to Luke Nankervis for bench cover, and then Neil to a Dunkley or a Parish. So firstly, would you go Dunks or Parish?
I think, that's a good question. I think Dunkley. Yeah, I'd say just Dunkley. And that sounds like a solid move. Obviously, both of those primos are good, but I prefer Dunks.
Yeah, I'm actually. I'd probably go the other one, Parish, for the uniqueness and the matchup. So, Tim.
Fair. Yeah, the uniqueness is.
Tim, how would you split it, Dunkley or Parish?
You got to go Parish with the run, I think.
Right, we'll stick with Parish. So do you go Harvey to Nankervis, Fry, and then Neil to Parish, or do you go Windhager to Flanders at F6 and then Neil to Crouch at M8? So I'm not John. I don't know if that's Matt Crouch or Brad Crouch, because funny enough, we know it's Brad Crouch for most of the year, but now a few people are talking about Matt Crouch. So
yeah, I think if it's either Crouch, I'd still prefer Parish. And I think getting Nankervis, even though I said,
would you just
bench somewhat seriously, he's still a good rookie and obviously going to make a bit more cash, negative break even. So I prefer.
Yeah, would you actually just say to John that just go down to a cheaper rook and save the 70K?
Probably, yeah. To be honest, if Vicentini makes an extra 70K, but if you need a mid forward specifically and you've got the money for Nankervis and you can still get to Parish, then Nankervis, he's a perfect, just like Elijah Hewitt, someone you can trade out in the last or second last round, hopefully to a 200K guy and make.
So John just said it was Matt Crouch, but a few people talk about Matt Crouch, and he's been playing very good for the Crows. I just don't see him putting up huge fantasy scores. I think he's more a player for the system for the Crows that's playing well more than a fantasy scorer. I think Dawson and Laird have taken over that mantle as the scorers in there. So, yeah, I'd be going the first option. Sean has got this one, Tim. So he's got 3 choices for this week. So his first trade is going Soldo to Flanders. So I think we all tick that off. So the 3 choices for the trade, right? So he's got his second trade will be Marshall to Gawn, which banks 20K. Lockie Neal to Matt Crouch, banks 60K. And Elijah Hewitt to a 200K rookie with 100K banked. Are you the first one? Are you the ruck? Are you going Gawn there, or?
Yeah. You don't want to do the other two, do you?
Oh, no.
I don't think you want to bring in a Matt Crouch.
If you're getting rid of Neil, I think you got to go up. You got to go up to one of those guys. And Hewitt to a rookie, you could do as well if you've got another issue on your field and you want more cash. But yeah, maybe the Marshall to Gawn for a bit of a pod play is the way to go. So, all right, we'll go this one here from Josh. He said, Flanders, McRae, or Butters for Windy Fry. Who'd you be going out of Flanders, McRae, and Butters?
It's hard to pass up Flanders this week. No Took. He's had a pretty good recent run. I'm actually pretty bullish on Jack McRae, though. He's only in 14% of teams, and someone that I'm honestly considering as like one of my last blokes instead of having Windy down there, especially if I can't get up to dunks. But I digress. I think that, I'd probably go for Flanders. The recent forms and the extra cash, too good to pass up.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Flanders for me. I wouldn't be bringing Butters in now, especially when he's got the tough matchup down in Geelong. And I'd probably wait to see till he gets a better matchup. And as you said, McRae could be a good unique as well. Winter is coming, as said. Boys, love your content. I've been so stuck in my life. Well, thanks, mate, for appreciate love there. Me and Tim appreciate it. And thanks for tuning in. He said, who would you trade to Parish, if any, Tim? So who would you get rid of? Would you get rid of any of Brad Crouch, Sarong, or LDU? So he said he's purely focused on winning a cash league. Mids are stacked, and they're the best three that would go. Thanks, advantages. That's right. That's Levi. We had this debate on the Wednesday Twitter space on Hat Chat, and we sort of said we'd probably look at a Brad Crouch or a Sarong. More Sarong because he doesn't have that ceiling, and Brad Crouch because takeaway last week where he kicked 3 goals, he's gone to 90. So Tim, who would you trade any of those 3 to Parish to get the match up there?
So who's the third one? So Brad Crouch,
LDU.
LDU.
That's what.
God, LDU is
that's
second highest in the last 3 or something like that. What's his run? Melbourne, I think, are pretty.
He's got a nice run to finish.
So look, I think it's Brad Crouch out of those. Like you said, obviously did have a nice big score last week, but kicked 3 goals, and it seems that his scoring has been impacted by Jack Steele. Carlton, bit of a tougher matchup. Has got the next 3 games at Marvel, which is kind of nice, but Richmond, Richmond have been a bit tougher the last few weeks. Geelong, a little bit of a tougher matchup, and Lions at the Gabba. So, I think it's Crouchy.
Yeah, well, shout out to Levi. I know he's got a stacked team when DC was running through that other night. Yeah.
I'm like, what? You're trading out one of those 3 players? Are you sure you really want to be trading out one of those 3 players?
Beautiful. Thanks, nice. Levi. Appreciate the good, nice comment there as well. Matt's got this one. Fry, so Power to Sheasel. With 58k in the bank, and I think it's Will Power actually, or Lockie Neal to Merritt with 7k in the bank. Trade 1 is going Mills to Dunkley, so he must have a lot of cash in the bank.
Whoa, those are nice.
So Power to Sheasel with 58k in the bank, or Neal to Merritt with 7k in the bank. It's Neal to Merritt, isn't it?
I reckon you get Merritt. You just got to have Zach Merritt in your team, I think.
What's Power been scoring though?
Good question. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's not who you bring in, right?
That's right. Will Powell, he got an 89 last week, 99 and 118 the week before, 63, 105, 100. So
it's got a 3-round average of about.
So since round 15, his lowest, he's only got 1 score below 89. So I think keep him. He's got.
Yeah, honestly, I reckon after learning.
I know the Crows are a tough matchup for defenders.
Yeah, and you don't know what Sheasel's going to be this week with Clarko back and Zeeble back in the side.
Dan, you get Merritt. Yep, I'd be doing that as well. Jason's got this one. This is actually an interesting one for next week. He's got 2 questions here. So, Timmy said, if Oliver's back next week, do we need to make sure we find a way to bring him in? Or would you be waiting a week? I'd be waiting a week.
Yeah, I think we'd like to wait a week. It's kind of good practice generally to wait a week to see how. I mean, I think the highest chances of a player getting injured is in their first game back. So, unless they don't have a particularly juicy matchup or anything like that.
I'm just having a look. So Oliver, they've obviously got North this week. So that's a tough matchup. But he's got Hawthorn, Sydney to finish the year. So you look at him in round 23. Yep. Jason's second part though, Tim, he said, who to bring in, Laird or Petrarca? So I think we said before we go Petrarca. And then who would you get rid of? Will Day or Lockie Neal? Was it Lockie Neal with the tag?
Lockie Neal.
Yeah, agreed.
Who's Will Day against
Collingwood?
He's been playing.
Collingwood give up points though. So it just depends. Does he play on a wing if McGuinness goes inside to tag Dacos? Because they've pretty much said that.
Look, I mean, this is all on the. We're making this decision on the basis that Lockie Neal's going to get tagged. And look, I think he definitely is at least one time out of these next 2 weeks. So even if it doesn't quite work out this week, and that's a bit of a sideways trade for this week, fingers crossed it'll work for you the next week.
Going through here, Anthony says English VC into Merritt too risky. No, I don't think it's too risky, Anthony. Still, English and Bont are good options. We were just saying that we're looking at potentially going a different route, but we're definitely not trying to talk anyone out of English or Bont because they could both go very well tonight. What else have we got here? Moonboy said he hates Friday night captains. James Crabb.
On that note, Bales, there's still a chance I do that and go English with a VC and Merritt. I'm going to have to, like I said, potentially make a couple of tweaks here and there and dive in. But yeah, don't be scared off by that. I think English, we've talked a lot about his scores at Marvel and away from Marvel recently, but he's still one of the best players.
Yeah, and we're going to be different, as Mini Monk loves to say. Who give a bit of a sneak peek for everyone. We've got Mini Monk and DT Lemon jumping on Sunday night, so really looking forward to that chat. But as Mini Monk says, it's team dependent. So if you're a coach that's wanting to push in the top 1,000 or top 100 or whatever, like myself, I'm not trying to go top 100. I'm just trying to get top 1,000. Then maybe going a different direction, VCing away from Friday night is a play, because if a few options don't go as well tonight and you have a Merritt VC and he goes 150 and the coach that took a score tonight don't get, that's the aggressive move. Whereas if you're in the top 100 and you just want to hold rank and you're sort of thinking your unique players in your team are going to increase rank, then maybe going a Bont VC tonight is a play. So it's all team dependent. It's all sort of what you think with captains as well. So yeah, that's what I would say with that one there. James Crabb says, would you guys go Bont VC into Merritt or Merritt VC into Gawn? So sort of a bit like what we were saying before. So Tim, are you going Bont into Merritt or are you going Merritt into Gawn?
I would go Merritt into Gawn.
Fry?
I think I'm the same, given Gawny's uniqueness.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I don't want to put the disclaimer on this, right? So I was very clear in saying that's what I would do, right? Now, I'm trying to get a little bit of a leg up on the comp, right? So I'm a bit like you guys have already said this, but I just kind of want to reiterate it, right? I do not think there is anything wrong with throwing the VC on a Bont or an English, and I can guarantee you I'm going to be very nervous sitting at the varsity bar, eating my ice blocks out of my bloody rum and dry because I'll be nervous as shit watching those guys play to see how they score, because I might miss a monster.
Yeah, exactly right, and that's what we're saying. That's what I was sort of saying. It's all team dependent, and sort of if you're feeling Bont into Merritt, it's you cut.
If you want to play it safe, I think this is how we've kind of categorized things over the last couple of weeks. If you're trying to hold rank, I would do a VC into a Merritt tonight, like VC tonight into a Merritt. If you're trying to climb rank, I would be
Merritt
doing a Merritt into a Gawn, or a Merritt into a Petrarca, or a Merritt into a Marshall maybe, or something like that.
What do you actually, just quickly, I didn't actually ask you guys for, what are your thoughts on a Doherty backup captain against the Saints, who Saints give up a lot of points to midfielders, defenders, wingers? He got a bit of a knock last week. I didn't actually watch that game. I was at that Div 12 Resi's game, and he was off for a little bit of the last quarter or the third quarter, whatever it was. But is he a good sort of backup captain from Merritt? A few people might be looking at him.
Well, for me,
yeah. You go, Tim.
Well, sorry, mate. So I haven't got him, right? So he's not an option for me. And quietly, I've also had just a little bit of uncertainty around Doc the last few weeks. I mean, he was playing out on the wing, and then, of course, with the injuries in the midfield, he's gone into the mids, which has kind of worked out all right for him. But I've been a little bit uncertain. I mean, Newman's been taking a lot of those, that kind of defensive role that he used to have. And look, with that, it was a pretty big knee to the ribs last week towards the end of the game. What it was, he might be sore. So I'm fading him because I think there's a few risks and a few flags there. But I think a few of the captain pickers have ranked him fairly highly up.
Yeah, being that, somewhat of a Mr. Fix-It for Carlton, it's so tough to pinpoint what his role is going to be each week. Obviously, he's excelled as a backman. He played on the wing, like you said, Tim. So I tend to agree. He does. Well, he's gone under 90 in the last couple. So the writing's on the wall for a bounce back. But there's a couple of other players like a Dawson, or if you got a Max Gorn, something like that. I prefer to go down that route.
Yeah. It was just I was looking at that because The other options I've got is like a Dunkley's probably the other one there because Dawson plays the same time as Merritt. And I'm sort of not as strongly, massively keen on some of those other options. Maybe Marshall could be that play there, but yeah, I'll have a think about that before the game tonight. Kados says, would you go Bont or Parrish? Fry?
Bont.
Yeah.
As someone that's saying I might go a cheaper option to save some money, but yeah, I think you may have talked me into it a bit, Bales. Agree with the fact that Rory Laird's a must-have at some point of the season, especially with the next 3 to come up, but not even too worried about the Gold Coast matchup. If you're stacking Bont up against Laird, it's Bont.
Yeah. Tim, are you Bont over Parrish as well?
I'm actually a Parrish over Bont. I think the uniqueness, I think the run. I'd be getting on Parrish.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah.
Look, the other thing
Depends
I like
a bit
about,
what you do with the
I
extra
like-
cash, right? If you go for Parrish and it saves you like a really convenient amount of cash and you've got a lot of other things you want to patch up, again, all team dependent, then that's probably the right option. But yeah, I feel like Bont is just going to keep churning out massive scores. Obviously, Parrish with his uniqueness is another great option. So there's not a lot splitting the two, but yeah, I think I just side with Bont.
Well, I think you could probably characterise it how he characterised it before. If you're trying to hold rank, go Bont. Right? If you're trying to climb rank, go Parrish.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very good points. Porter Dennis said, hold Mills to loot with... No, just trade Mills. I haven't even finished the question. Just trade Mills. No, I'll finish the question, Porter there. So hold Mills to loot with Windhager and go Keys up to either Bont, Parrish or Laird, or split Keys and Mills into Flanders and Josh Kelly. I'd be getting Flanders and Josh Kelly.
Yeah.
I'd be doing that.
Hell yeah.
I know that the other 3 are good options in Bont, Parrish and Laird, but you get rid of 2 issues and you're getting in Flanders, who looks like he could be a top 6 forward the rest of the year, and Josh Kelly, who, he's been injury prone, but we know that he can score just as well as anyone.
Well, look, we thought he could be a top 8 this year. We thought he could.
I started with him, then he got bloody concussed. So,
same.
Yeah,
same, Bales.
Tuffy. I know, Fry, you've had it a lot worse, that's for sure. But Joel says trade thoughts: Elijah Hewitt to Borlase and Windhager Dunkley. If not Dunks, who else? And he said he could look at a Parrish, but yeah, I can say for all of us, definitely do those trades. Hewitt to Borlase, and again, we probably said it before. Windhager to Dunkley or Parrish is probably that thing. If you want to hold rank, you probably go Dunkley. If you want to climb rank, you probably go Parrish. So it's a tough one, but Parrish got the good fixtures. So let's go to some more questions. We're getting through heaps. We might even finish all the questions. Doug Fitzpatrick says, Neil and Day to Steele and Sicily. Would you tick off those luxury trades? Cheers, lads. Tim, are you ticking those off?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he didn't have a Doc, would you go Doc over Sicily? Because a few people might be deciding between Doc and Sicily. Are we going Doc for the better matchup?
No, I'd go Sicily over Doc.
Frost isn't playing. Frost isn't playing, so Sicily might be playing that second hold again.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise that. I didn't pay any attention.
Yeah, so Blank came in, but Frost is out.
I missed that too, actually.
I'm Doc out of those 2 personally with the better matchup against Saints.
All right. I'll go with you, Bales. You're on. I completely missed that. You picked that up, and I didn't.
Well, I think it actually was it Luke or Mitch won the stream before picked it up, and I was just like, okay, that's interesting.
Mate, that's another point. You don't have to say that, right? You can just claim it your own now.
That's right. I came up with the idea. It was all me. Brandon says, Toot to Matt Crouch and Himmelberg to McRae. What are our thoughts?
I don't like either of those trades. If Matt Crouch and McRae.
If you could do Toot to maybe Flanders and Himmelberg,
something like that.
Yeah, prefer
and
that.
so you're getting McRae for Himmelberg, so $793. If you can afford $70K more, I would go and get Tim's boy Gavin, $864 if you can get up to him. But I guess if it's the best you can get to, would we prefer Josh Kelly over a McRae?
I think I would, but it's. I mean, the only tricky thing with Tom
Dogs
Green
run
coming back in and the Dogs run, Oh, yeah, it's a gross question.
What about
It's just you can.
What about anyone keen on maybe a Jaden Shaw against the Dogs this week? Saints next week. He's about the same price as McRae.
He was the other bloke that I was considering trading in. I thought I was going to go extremely unique. He's playing his 150th tonight. He'll have a bath, but I feel he's got to break even in the 140s.
Yeah, 149.
Again, like Tim said, the first game back is usually when, he maybe gets subbed out 3/4 time just for management purposes. You never know what's going to happen. So I feel like you wait a week is the smart play, but he's someone that I'm extremely.
Yeah, he's got.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a good point.
Yeah, he's got St Kilda, then North Melbourne to finish the year. So I'm looking at him potentially next week as a bit of like a Will Day to him, a bit of a sideways. But we'll have to see. Let's keep going through these. Nicholas Hanlon says Day to Flanders and Neil to Parish. Yep, we can all. I think we're all going to agree tick those off.
Yeah.
Doug Fitzpatrick said Sicily or Gavin. Who are we going out of those two? Are we going saving the cash for Gavin or are we paying up for Sicily?
I mean, I'm a bit concerned about Sick Dog this week with, Frost out, but at the same time, I think, look, I mean, I'm captain of the fucking Gavin, fan club, right? But I would be probably preferring Sicily as a trade-in than I would Gavin.
He's got,
But once again, I'm just a little bit concerned about that role this week, and because we know that Sick Dog can be a bit up and down.
Sicily's run for the rest of the year is too good to pass. So he's got Collingwood this week who give up points. He's got the Bulldogs down at UTAS next week who he scored a 150 odd in the last round last year. Melbourne, MCG, Melbourne get up points, and Freo is the only tough matchup, but I still think he can go all right against them. So we love Gavin, as Tim said. Tim's captain of the Gavin fan club, but I think it's Sicily there.
He's got a stand named after him at the Adelaide Oval.
Yeah, he does, exactly right. And he might even, you never know, he might even have a T-shirt for the Fantasy Fanatics and might make a Gavin one or something. Just something like that.
We're getting into merch as well now,
mate.
Pals.
Gentleman says, is there a way to loop Dacos? Is anyone look?
I did. Yeah, Selby did talk about this in his trade insights.
Hang on, we got a late change for Richmond. This may help some people's benches. Co-captain Dylan Grimes is out, and Sam Banks has come in for Richmond. So if anyone's got Banks on the bench, that'll be good for them. So thanks, John, for giving us those few updates tonight. So, crap, what were we saying? I lost track of what we were talking about.
We're talking about Gavin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
No,
that's right. We're talking about potential merch we're going to get for him.
That's right.
What have we got? Gareth said about Petrarca an option for captain. Got 145 against North earlier in the year. Yeah, we all said before that we like him as a pod captain. Joe Holden says Neil and Mills to the Rat and Parish. Oh, Rat's an interesting name. That's been going very well. Or Mills and Sheldrick on his bench to Dunkley and Vicentini. So means keeping Mill. I don't know about you guys. I'd probably still go. I'd almost get Parish over Dunkley, but I'd do the second option. I think. I don't know. What are your thoughts, guys, on the Rat?
I wasn't listening, mate. I was looking up the
who was in the
Del
Vicentini Dunkley.
So the first option went Neil and Mills to Rat and Parish. Second option was Mills and Sheldrick to Vicentini to Sheldrick's on his bench and Dunkley.
Yeah, second.
On the second one as well. The Rat's been great, but it has been said that Adelaide are, I think, the most restrictive team for uncontested marks. So it is a revenge game against the Crows, but I'm not sure about. He's been very good last 4 weeks, but yeah, I'd still rather get Dunkley. But I think we said before again, you could even go Parish over Dunkley if you want, but sort of depending on what you want to do there. Nozza says Neil and Windhager to Flanders and Dunkley, or would we be going Windhager and Hewitt to Dunkley and a rookie? I'm assuming that rookie's on the bench. On the first one, personally. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think you go the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be doing that. Well, looks like that. Is that all the questions? Actually, no, we've got some more questions there. I thought for a second that was all of them done, but I just didn't refresh the page. Luca said option 1, Dacos and Himmelberg to Parish and Flanders, or option 2 is Hewitt and Himmelberg to Dunkley and Vicentini. On the first one, I think. Oh, actually, I know, but actually, no, I don't like the fact he's. But what are thoughts of going a Dacos out this week with the McGuinness tag? Tim, have you got any sort of thoughts on that?
Far out. Like, I mean, it's a big trade. You'd want to have a pretty bloody perfect team. I mean, would you be trading a Dacos over a Neil?
No, I'd be trading,
maybe he doesn't have
trading
Neil.
Neil first.
Yeah.
If Himmelberg's his worst player and he's
so-
got best sort of players in the other ones, is it a play to go a Dacos out for a week and maybe look at bringing him back in next week? But then he's got Geelong, so...
Wouldn't you prefer to just go up from Himmelberg to the biggest
Well,
dog
so
you
he
can?
said that the second option is going Hewitt on his bench down to Vicentine, then going Himmelberg up to Dunkley, and I assume that means he's probably got a little bit of cash in the bank.
I think that's the best. That seems like the best thing to do, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the play for sure. I think we can get a little bit too fancy and trying to jump at small shadows at this point of the year to try and get that point of uniqueness and try and, really get a one-up on everyone. But you can't be trading out Nick Dacos. There's a very likely chance that he goes and dominates again. So, no.
And look, I mean, it also depends what this coach is up to this week. Is he playing for a league? Is he, rank?
Has he got the week off the finals? You're right. Yeah.
So we've got Lauren's got this one here. Which trade combo? So I will ask Fry for this one because there's a few extra names here. I know.
Jesus Christ! Thank God I'm sitting down.
Tim's like, if it's over four, Tim's like, it's over 4 names.
It's got more than 4 players. I can't do it.
So it's got 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. So
Jesus Christ!
So which?
All right, I'll see if I can
which trade combo? So the first combo is Darcy Cameron and Neil to Merritt and Parrish. I think that's probably the one. I'm going to read out the other ones, but that's an amazing set of trades there.
That's the leader at the moment.
Darcy Cameron and Briggs to Parrish and Gawn. I think Briggs against Sydney is probably going to go all right. So I think I'd still rather get Merritt and Parrish. I know Gawn's a good option, but and then the third one is Neil and Butters to Merritt and Parrish. I think you're trading. You're probably. Are you trading?
Well, Neil and Butters. Who were they trading out in the first
DC
scenario?
Neil. So it's Darcy Cameron
Cameron.
or Butters. I'm probably keeping Darcy Cameron this week over Butters. For this week alone.
Butters.
I just default to picking the midfielder over a ruckman.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. So
I'd
first
go
one?
the first one.
Yeah, you probably do for safety actually, because if you get forced trades next week, you'd probably rather Butters in your team than Darcy Cameron. So I think it's the first one. I think you go get Merritt and Parrish. We'll go 2 more questions here, and then we'll wrap up. Actually, Jackson just saying comment here said, it's Friday night footy took to Dunks and Windhager to rookie, taking 280k for next week. Yeah, we love that. They're good trades, and we are excited for Friday night footy. So Lauren, we just said that about that before about them not tagging Bond. So Berkey says thoughts on trading Dacos for 1 round. First trade used was Will Day to Petrarca. Second trade have no cash, looking to get creative, ranked 400th. We talked about it before, but I'll probably say that if you've got a 22 that you're very happy with, and you're happy to go Dacos out for 1 week, I would tick it off because he's got Geelong next week. So absolute worst case, he's got Geelong, which is a tough matchup anyway. So, but you'd want to try and get Dacos back next week. But I'd tick it off. I think it's fine. So, and then Anthony says, Bales, you reckon you'd be in the top 8 of the content creators if you didn't start with lead? Well, mate, I am in the top 8 in the overall. So, I don't think so. I think for me, it was not starting Dacos and English. They're the 2 that really killed me. Starting Tom Powell, Darcy is as good as he was, and McGrath. That's what killed me. If I had those other 3, I think I would have been top there. So, all right. Well, that's gonna do. I think we answered all the questions. We pretty much answered most of the questions today. So appreciate everyone that put through their questions on Twitter or on YouTube. We appreciate you guys watching as always. So Fry, thanks mate for jumping on with us this evening. Where can people find you and the Sports by Fry podcast?
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's just Sports by Fry on all your popular social media platforms, doing the weekly kind of review and preview of the next round every Wednesday, and plenty of basketball stuff.
Yeah, I was just about to say you have your basketball stuff ramping up with the pre-season sort of getting underway, and season probably only a couple months away as well.
Yeah, we're in a bit of a lull in the NBA. There's a lot of hoop heads on holidays at the moment. So yeah, perfect time to brainstorm some content. But yeah, plenty of stuff.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks, mate. Thanks for jumping on. Tim, mate, where can the people find you besides being at Varsity tonight with the usual crew?
Yeah, at Tim Guest AU on any of the social pods.
Yeah, and make sure if you're in the Perth area, get down to Varsity and watch Tigers and Bulldogs tonight. It'll be a very interesting game. A lot of fantasy relevant players. And you can find me at BalesDT on Twitter and trulybailshd on YouTube. We'll be back on Sunday night with DT Lemon and Mini Monk for the round review. So looking forward to that one. Watch along back tomorrow night. So if you've got nothing to do tomorrow night on a Saturday night and you want to chill with me, then feel free to jump on YouTube. We watch the GOS and Sydney game together, and make sure you subscribe and like the videos. And also, if you haven't caught up on Trade Talk review or our podcast from Sunday with Cara, still make sure you go and check that out and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That'd be very much appreciated. We've only got one review, so if you put a review in the next couple of days, I'll personally read them out on Sunday night if you do put the review in. So we appreciate all your support so far, and we'll catch you guys at the usual time on Sunday night. So we'll catch you then. We're out. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Good luck.